Well, welcome, folks. Welcome to the special edition of Mr. Bacon's Neighborhood. And I am thrilled today to be able to have our first special guest, Dr. Laurie Cyr-Martel. So thank you, Laurie, for joining us. Now, for folks that are wondering, no, we are not sitting on a couch side by each. Through the use of technology, and friend Dan here, he's put us together. We're actually about 40, 50 miles apart, even as we speak here. But this is a kind of a neat way to do it. So Laurie has offered to come in and help us through some of the more delicate pieces here as we're working into week 7 and 8 of this pandemic. So just a quick background on Laurie. She's a mental health professional and has been in EMS for years. She's worked both the EMS side, and she's worked with police departments, and has done some private practice as well. She's also on the crisis team down in the Lewiston, Auburn area. Worked with her on many debriefings, and that's how I met her, as we're doing debriefings and doing some training. So, Laurie, want to thank you for being here. Got a couple of questions for you that if you wouldn't mind addressing. One of those is, as we're getting into week 7 and 8 here of the pandemic, can you talk about the cumulative stress that folks are dealing with, and then as if you wouldn't mind giving some examples of how folks can deal with it on an ongoing basis, and then maybe touch on how families can help out, because they're feeling the same thing as well, just in a different perspective. If you wouldn't mind talking about that, and then maybe end up talking about the frontline warm line that has been advertised out there. So again, thank you.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you, Blaine, and absolutely a privilege and pleasure to be here and be able to hopefully bring some information to all those who are watching. So this fact of cumulative stress that we are experiencing now, I mean, given the increased workloads and the frustrations with what's transpiring, possible equipment challenges, and then the real possibility of passing it to our loved ones and our families, all bring about this cumulative issue that we're faced right now with. So I think the difficulty, Blaine, is when we talk about cumulative, we talk about the expanding, ever-present notion of what's going on in our lives right now. I mean, there's no playbook for this. When this hit us, the policies and procedures that EMS and police and fire once knew were pretty much out the window, and it seems that policies and protocols are changing daily. And so when we look at what happens with this cumulative stress, the more it builds up in our brains and our bodies, the more difficult it becomes to alleviate that presentation of signs and or symptoms, both emotionally and psychologically and physiologically. So when we look at, what are the effects? How do we look at this? It could be that we find ourselves more irritable with ourselves, with our family, even with our children. Sometimes we tend to withdraw from people. The difficulty with that is when we start withdrawing, then we begin to isolate. And when we begin to isolate, then really our self-care can go down the tubes, if you will. Frustration and our emotions and the tension can run high in ourselves and in others. And it may manifest itself with headaches, with gastrointestinal issues, with lack or compromised issues regarding sleeping. So what do we do for ourselves and for our family? We go to work most of the time, and if we use the notion of keeping the bucket full and putting all our tools and strategies in this bucket, if you will, And over the period of the shift, or if you're working 2 shifts, that bucket tends to get drained. And how do we build that up? How do we bring it back to a sense of homeostasis, if you will? I almost hesitate to use the word normalcy, because the normal that we knew 2 months ago, 3 months ago is no longer there. So some things to keep in mind that are really important is to try to keep that same routine. If not the same, then change it, but keep it as if it was manageable. So the same time to eat, the same time to sleep. Set yourself a timetable. I know sleep is not something many people have a consistency of, but how important is that? The minute our sleep starts dwindling and is compromised, then we're not present, and that can affect our patient care. Watching what we take into our bodies for nutrition. You know, I know you and I kid about that, Blaine, in regards to water. I mean, it's something that keeps us hydrated. It's also one thing that keeps the stress hormones being able to be eliminated from our body. Creativity. Laughter is so important, especially with your families and your significant others, to be able to have that downtime to just create some time for fun. I think about the guy that created the karaoke on Facebook, where anybody could apply, I guess, to join. Something out of the ordinary to bring back that sense of hope, that sense of pleasure, that's literally been taken away from us. Staying mentally and physically active. I'm not asking people to go out and run a marathon, but physical activity is absolutely paramount to increase those endorphins and to help you find something that's unrelated to work to be able to relax a little bit. You know, I know everybody tries to do something physically active or quote unquote exercise, but it is so important. Even if it's 10, 15 minutes a day, incredibly important to have. Being connected with people. You know, as human beings, we all need that human connection. When we stay connected, we tend to have more open communication. And when we're talking about communication with our children and our family, obviously age appropriate, but being able to stay in that moment with them, answering their questions as honestly as we can, to kind of dissipate some of that fear that we have. You know, and another thing I think about in this day and age, and we want to stay up to the latest on the news and what's going on and who said what and what the best and greatest information is on COVID. Yes, definitely. We need to know that. But at what point can we tune it off? Can we take a break? Can we do a digital detox and not have our phones on us all the time, to give our brains that mental break that we need?
Sure.
And I think, you know, one thing that's important, Blaine, is so many times you all are out there, you're giving support and compassion and comfort and care to everybody else, but you guys aren't so great at allowing others to provide that for you. Being able to accept that support and that care and that encouragement, share those frustrations with, absolutely paramount for your health and wellness. You know, I think one of the biggest things is don't worry alone. If there's things taking up space in your brain, connect with somebody, share those frustrations, share those concerns, and allow yourself to be consoled. Allow yourself to receive what you give out every single shift. I just want a couple more things just to throw those out. There's so much we can't control with this. Again, the rule book, the playbook was thrown out, right? So what is it we can control? When you get home from shift, I don't care if you're good at making a pizza, walking the dog, planting flower, I don't care. Find something that you're good at and restore some of that control and that mastery, back into your life. So many times we forget that. We forget that we are good at more than just the job, right? Tell somebody that you love them. Tell your colleagues, your friends, the reasons that you appreciate them. This whole notion of gratitude, there's been a lot of research lately on gratitude and the neuroscience around gratitude, and that when we show gratitude to our others, it actually increases a part of our hippocampus that releases dopamine to help us feel good. So it's not just, we're blowing smoke, if you will. It truly is a neurobiological reason that we want to show gratitude and positivity and bring that back into our life. And I guess the last thing is, it is absolutely, in this day and age, in what we're going through right now, experiencing these stress reactions during this outbreak. But we need to be cognizant if those reactions now start to impact not only yourselves, but your friends, your family, even your colleagues. If you notice this prolonged sadness in people in your lives, the difficulty sleeping, the intrusive memories, this notion of hopelessness, please reach out, or have those individuals that you notice this in reach out for assistance. You asked me to talk about the Peer Line, the Frontline Warm Line. So a couple months, this project came together with the Maine Association of Psychiatric Physicians and DHHS to be able to provide support for the healthcare people on the front line and all first responders. Out of that project came what is known as the Maine Frontline Warm Line. They asked for volunteers whose specialties were mental health, psychological health. So we have about 90 volunteers, maybe a little over that now. And from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, anyone can call in. Every single volunteer on that line is a licensed therapist, social worker. We have doctors, psych nurse practitioners, nurses, and they're all trained in psychological first aid, which is really all about being able to provide human connection, being able to support, provide resources, and it is a non-judgmental place where somebody just needs to, and these are my words, not theirs, somebody needs to just verbally vomit, just to have somebody on that line that knows what's happening to your brain and body to be able to provide that support. And again, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the individuals are all over the state, so it doesn't matter where you work, but it is a resource. That's all. It's a resource. Thoroughly confidential. No notes, nothing like that. Again, it's just a place for people to be able to have, to make that call. So again, I can certainly, I'll say those numbers to you at 207-221-8196 or 866-367-4440. Either one of those numbers, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., people can call in and have a warm ear on the other line to be able to connect with. And one last thought, if I may, just another 10 seconds.
Sure.
Is that I want to be able to say thank you to anyone that might be watching, to you, for what you all are doing in this time of need for so many people. And remind yourselves to honor yourself. Despite the obstacles, the challenges, the frustrations, the horrible situations that you all find yourselves in, you are providing the care, the comfort, the support, the compassion, and taking care of those most in need. Honor that. And I think I'll leave it at that and just say thank you for letting me be part of this. It was pretty cool.
Thank you for again for these wonderful words of wisdom, and it a lot of it sounds like what we talk about when we have the individual briefings, debriefings, and how folks can manage through those. Only now we need to have a plan to deal with it on a daily basis as we continue. So I hope folks take what you have to say. I know it helps me to hear it again and to be able to beef up my toolbox because I'm feeling it the same way that everybody else is. So again, thank you for being with me today, and want to thank folks for listening in, and we'll provide the phone numbers for that warm line at the end of the video, along with my contact information. And if anybody has any questions or concerns, either families or providers, feel free to reach out either on any of the contacts that we have there. So again, thank you for listening. Be safe in all that you do, and like I've said in the past, make good decisions. Thank you. Delta Ambulance, compassion, leadership, and excellence.